All right, man, we're live. Episode 26. We're getting ahead of the curve a little bit, man, since we basically took August off. This Life in Tech, I'm Jason.
And I am your benevolent dictator, Dan.
Benevolent. First of all, I don't know how benevolent you really are, and I don't know how much of a dictator you really are. You're definitely a dick. But I love you, man.
I'm really not all that benevolent either.
Yeah, I know, man. Nobody's fooled, dude. Don't worry about it. Nobody's fooled. Oh, man. So, dude, the last time we really sat down to talk before DefCon, that was episode 23 for us, 24. We talked about UFC 200 and all the shenanigans around doping. I mean, John Jones, Brock Lesnar. Apparently, it's the same root cause now. And they've both been removed from the pound-for-pound rankings and all that shit. But since then, man, we had UFC 202, which, I didn't watch 200, but I definitely watched 202 for no reason other than to watch Conor McGregor.
Yeah, basically. So I'm trying to think. I did watch 200, but I didn't pay for it. I didn't watch 201 at all.
I don't even remember who was on
it. That was what Daniel Cormier. Oh, wait.
Yeah,
Daniel
it
Cormier
was.
The fight of 200.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Right.
So I watched him fight. I watched him basically lay on top of Anderson Silva. Is basically what I saw.
Yeah.
201, I don't even remember who fought.
I honestly don't. I don't remember who was on the card at all. I didn't watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even fucking take a stream of it. I don't even think I checked the news. I'm like, whatever.
I do know that was the one that Miesha Tate lost.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That was the headlining fight. Shit, you're right.
Yeah.
Who beat her?
I do remember that.
I don't even remember who beat her.
I have no idea what her name is. I don't know. No clue.
Nope.
But this is what I do know. I mean, the Diaz brothers and McGregor are by far the most entertaining and the ones that I enjoy watching the fight. So to me, just like last time, I had Conor McGregor winning, and I had him winning this time also. Not because I necessarily think that he's the better mixed martial artist, but because neither of the Diaz brothers will try and take you down and destroy you with their Brazilian jiu-jitsu. They would rather stand up and say, I can outbox you. They are both Diaz brothers are insane, off the charts with their jiu-jitsu, and yet they're so damn stubborn that they don't want to go to the ground.
Well, it really brings up this idea of what people typically refer to as fight IQ, being a smart fighter. And if you put it on a spectrum, in my opinion, on the high end of fight IQ, you have people like George St. Pierre and Conor McGregor, who clearly has a really high fight IQ. This isn't talent. I'm not talking about his skill set. I'm talking about his ability to make adjustments, not only in between fights based off wins and losses, but during a fight. And on the other opposite end, you have people like the Diaz brothers, who basically have fought the same way every time they fought for the last fucking decade. And they haven't made one change, not one adjustment.
No. Now, this is what's funny about that. This is a slight tangent. So Nick Diaz was jumped by 4 people the other day.
That's the fucking rumor, man. That's what TMZ reported.
Right? And the casino that they're not the club that they were at confirmed it. So basically, Nick Diaz walks away from beating the asses of 4 people because the report is he took them to the ground and choked their asses out while taking punches. And when that one was done, he went to the next. Well, why the fuck don't you do that one-on-one? Because who's going to beat you? I mean, George St. Pierre, GSP, he's got some good ground game. So, and we saw that with what he did to Diaz. But Nate Diaz is no joke. On the ground, the guy is more than legit. He goes over and still does the pure submission.
Yeah. And in fact,
what's it called?
they do the BJJ tournaments. Yeah.
Yeah, well, this one's something different. I can't remember the name of it.
I don't know if he does. I don't know if he
anyway,
does ADC or Abu Dhabi. I don't know which one he's done.
it's the one in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, so then it's the Abu Dhabi, the Mundials.
Yeah.
I would argue that Nate is actually a better technical fighter than Nick.
Oh yeah, I agree. And Nate did not want to check those leg kicks. If he was, this comes back down to he wanted to put on a show instead of, I'm going to do whatever I can to get Conor McGregor to the ground, and I'm going to make him tap. Because if you stand up with Conor McGregor, I don't think anyone to be able to stand up with him. I think he destroys Cowboy Cerrone. I think he will destroy Aldo again. I don't think there's anyone that can stand up with Conor at this point. Not straight standing up.
No. There's multiple top 5 people at 170 that if they ate that left like Nate Diaz did, they would have been fucking sleeping. Guaranteed. That's just a Diaz thing, right? I mean, and both of them have that genetic trait. It's part of their structure. There's actually some science that came out a couple of years ago that talked about if you look at that, like especially a typical wrestler body style, where they have the really thick brow ridge with the stocky neck that's real thick, that body type can withstand punishment more than others. But anyway, what I found interesting, man, I don't know if you listened to, because there was no post-fight press conference because they fought in the new arena and all that shit's not built out yet. So they did like one-on-one scrums. And somebody asked Conor McGregor if he's going to go back and fight at 145 to defend his belt. And of course, that's what Dana White has said he has to do. And Conor made this really interesting point that, why do I have to? What are you going to do? Strip me and give the belt to a dude I knocked out in 13 seconds?
Yeah, and then make the entire division, what did he say? Put on the undercard and on Fox Sports 1.
Yeah.
You'll bury it. I think it was something like, you will bury it into
the prelims. That's what he said, yeah.
Well, bury it in the prelims, but he had another word that he used, basically, which meant out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, well, because that's where it was before he started fighting.
Yeah, you'll bury it into obscurity.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I don't think there's much of an argument that Jose Aldo is a skilled MMA fighter, and he was a dominant champ for what, almost 10 years. But who the fuck watched his fights? I'd never seen him fight before he fought Conor McGregor. I'd never watched one of his fights, man, not one.
I saw him fight a couple times. I never thought he was great. I would absolutely watch, even still today. I still think he's a little bit past his prime at this point. But what's his name? The California kid,
Uriah Faber.
Yeah, Uriah was always, to me, and like in his prime in the mid-20s, was dominant.
Yeah.
I knew him because he was just Jose Aldo, punk. If he doesn't feel he's 100%, he ain't fighting. He will pull out. I think he pulled out last time with a hangnail.
I think he has pulled out more than he's actually fought. I mean, but he's just not a star. I mean, I saw some statistics today around the fact, I'm vastly going to paraphrase it, that of all the top earning pay-per-views over a certain number of views and a certain dollar amount, they're all in this postmodern era, and they're almost all affiliated with Conor McGregor. I mean, those two fools.
He's got 2 of the top 3. He's got 2 of the top 3.
Yeah. I mean, come on, man. I would take an ass whipping from both of them at the same time for 15 mil. For 25 minutes?
Well, dude, I would do it for $1 million.
Yeah, well, yeah, I would too, but for 15 million nonetheless.
Yeah, sure. It comes down to this. This is the part where I absolutely believe McGregor, with the when we start talking about the fighting IQ, his quote has always been, "I win or I learn," and that's life.
Yeah,
and everything. So he went back, and they utilized some true sports science to figure out every aspect of him. Like, he fought at 167.5 pounds, and he did not look slow this time.
No. Well, he fought completely different. I maybe to a layman, it's not a student of the science. they maybe didn't notice, but he fought completely different. Completely different.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the leg kicks. He didn't punch the same way.
Nope. He came at it and did basically, in a lot of ways, what Nate Diaz is famous for doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, pop, 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 and then bam, unload, and then step back, regroup, do it again.
Yep.
You know, he didn't get caught. You know, Nate Diaz, he can say whatever he wants. He's like, oh, I'm like 170. He looked like a giant compared to Conor McGregor, even in this fight. He's easily walking around at 185, 190.
What I read was that on the day at the time of the fight, he weighed at least 195.
Well, and he's going, oh, you know, I'm only around 175. No way. He's 6 foot. I mean, that's what he is, 6 foot of muscle. And he's easily that. I mean, he fought Conor being at least 25 pounds heavier, and that's hard to do. And Conor dropped him 4 times in the fight.
Yeah.
3 times. I know 3 times. Might have been 4. And then, you know, that just comes back down to the science aspect of everything that Conor McGregor does. Everything has a specific point in order to get him to perform at his peak.
Yeah.
And I did have I had the fight, you know, I thought I would not have been completely upset if it was 3-2 Diaz. I thought there were a couple of rounds that could have gone either way. But I still felt that it was I would have gone 3-2 Conor. Mainly, actually, wasn't even that. I believe his round 1 or round 2, the one where he dropped him twice, should have been a 10-8 round for Conor.
Yeah. Well, you know, it brings up two, at least for me, 2 last points on UFC 202, and specifically Diaz versus McGregor. One, you can absolutely see the difference in quality of the coaching staff. It makes a huge difference. A huge difference. And I think that's a weakness, and I'm not the first person to say this by any stretch of the imagination, but that's been a typical weakness of the Diaz brothers, is they have good people in their camp, don't get me wrong, but they don't have a strategist the way Conor has and his coach. Somebody that can really analyze things, put shit together, build a game plan for you, and motivate you to actually follow that fucking game plan. And you can hear John Kavanaugh saying in the corner, get off of him, back up, right? Don't, and you could see parts where Conor was going to do it, and then he listened and backed off, and it absolutely saved his ass. The second thing, do you want to talk about Nate Diaz and his vaping of CBD oil?
I thought, so what I remember reading, and I could absolutely be wrong on this, but what I remember reading was that CBD is banned in competition.
I'm going to Google check it real quick.
Right. Now, if that's the case, there's going to be a fine line here for in competition, because you're technically, until you have done your post-fight fluids that you have to give over,
your medicals,
you're still considered in fight.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's 4 to 6 hours is the time frame.
Yeah.
It's something like that. I don't know what
the time frame. But so I don't know if he already gave out, you know, all of his fluids for the post-fight or not.
He had not.
But if he had not, that he could very well be facing fine, suspension. The difference will be very similar to what happened with BJ Penn. This is a self-admitted thing that he did, and therefore it would be less of a suspension as well, just like with BJ Penn. BJ Penn got like 6 months. I personally don't have any issue whatsoever with anyone doing things like CBD oil. I don't believe it's not performance enhancing.
Okay? No, it's not. It's not.
You know, and actually, in reality, I could give a shit if people do PEDs or not. I really don't care.
Yeah, you know, I tend to agree with you, man. This is what's interesting. It really comes down to how USADA, and I'm trying to find it, man, and it's not listing it because they're pretty detailed in what's banned. I mean, it's pretty specific, the list. I can't find. Oh, here it is. Section S8, cannabinoids. See, this is pretty specific. It talks about natural or synthetic THC. And for any
CBD
of our
oil is not THC.
right, for any of our viewers that aren't familiar, CBD is an extract of the plant, but it doesn't contain THC. We're assuming that the CBD oil he had was only CBD oil, which does exist, and it is used for inflammation and pain. So THC, and this is what's interesting. It says, and I'm quoting off the USADA.org website, THC and THC-like cannabinoids or cannabimetics, which is like hash.
Yeah. That like aspect, I wonder if they're going to classify it as that.
I don't know, man. I saw something that said USADA is investigating it. I don't know, man. It'll be interesting because it's absolutely legitimate. The science backs it up 100%. CBD, I'm not going to talk about THC at all, but CBD is absolutely a potent anti-inflammatory and anti-pain substance. But it's not a performance enhancing. I mean, it's not like an opioid where it's going to dull pain. It doesn't do that. It reduces inflammation, no different than an NSAID like Advil or ibuprofen. It's essentially the same thing, just in a natural form. Not chemically, don't get me wrong, but that's its effect. So, but it was funny, man, because he's sitting there vaping on that pen, which was very deliberate, right? I mean, right? And that reporter says, hey, by the way, what are you vaping? Because, by the way, nicotine is also on the list, as well as caffeine.
What?
Yeah.
So you can't have coffee?
There's some yeah, man. Let me look. It's actually in the section under, is it under stimulants? Oh, it's in here. I know it is. And I just saw it. Now I can't find it.
Because they're all drinking Monsters. How the hell is that possible?
Maybe they have the caffeine-free ones.
Is there such a thing?
Yeah, I think there is. I don't drink that shit, and I never have. I just don't like the taste of it. But yeah, I'm not going to spend all of our podcast going through this, but it's on the list. Nicotine and caffeine are definitely on the list. I don't know the exact circumstances. Oh, there it is. Under S6, stimulants. All stimulants and their optical isomers are prohibited. This includes caffeine, nicotine, some other substances. This is for in competition specifically. Now, that's the substance. This doesn't list the amount.
Yeah.
Right. So
maybe there's an aspect.
Right, because like THC is that way. I mean, anyway, man, it depends on how you test for it. Whether you're taking a blood serum test or a piss test or a hair test, how you're picking up whether it's the THC molecules directly or the metabolites. Because for the record, that's how Nick Diaz got banned. It was for the metabolites, and with metabolite testing, it could have been weeks before, which is out of competition. So anyway, man, there's always fuckery. Yeah. There's always fuckery.
Well, and regardless, I really don't care if they want to do PEDs or not. I honestly don't care. It's part of science. Do whatever that you understand the risks. Do whatever you want. I don't care.
It's optimizing human performance, and let's be honest.
Transparent.
Yeah,
be transparent.
And let's be honest. If we're watching fighting, I want to watch fights. and if I can watch two yoked out dudes like Brock Lesnar slam each other around, that's fucking entertaining.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's a little Roman, if you guys follow my analogy, but why else am I watching?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I support it. I mean,
because here's the thing: as adults, we can make a conscious decision to choose to do these things.
Yeah.
Now, I am equally opposed to fighting animals. They don't have a choice. They're basically done. They do whatever their owner has them do. There's no choice in that. And it's, but you as a human, an adult, you can make a conscious decision to do that or not.
Right.
So.
Right. That's why to finish up the MMA thing, the one fight I might be interested in watching, although I don't know that I'll watch it on pay-per-view, like pay for it, is Dan Henderson versus Michael Bisping.
I'll go to Green Turtle or something like that and watch it.
Yeah. Well, because Dan Henderson's fucking logo is that flying H-bomb he dropped on Bisping after he was knocked out. That's his fucking logo.
Yeah. I think Bisping wins that fight.
Dude, he has momentum now. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I think Dan Henderson is now susceptible to being knocked out.
Oh, fuck
He's been
yeah.
knocked out a lot recently.
He's way over the hill, man. I love Dan Henderson, but he's over the hill.
And I've always been a Michael Bisping fan. I like him. I think he is above average as an overall fighter, but that's just my opinion. I like the way he fights. I think his chin's a little soft, but I think he's above average.
I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. So speaking of fuckery, dude, do you want to talk about the recent NSA tool leak and all this bullshit?
I guess we kind of have to, right? I mean, we're kind of obligated to. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, if this is truly NSA tools, every country has them. Not even just every country. I mean, this to me is really I don't think this to be that much different than what Cellbrite did for the FBI. They're developing tools in order to get into things.
Mm-hmm.
Expect an intelligence agency of any country to not be doing the same thing. This is their job.
Right. Right. And you and I talked about it in the pre-session a little bit. What I'm fascinated by is the wave after wave, and I mean like tidal wave size waves, not little ripples, of disinformation that floats around, particularly around attribution, historical use of these things, and their intent. It's interesting, right? As opposed to like kinetic warfare, where you always have groups popping up saying, "Yeah, that was us. We did it, and we did it for this cause. Fuck you." With this kind of shit, nobody ever really seems to stand up and be like, "Yeah, that's mine, and I used it in this way, and here's the proof." It's all purported hearsay speculation of who really owns it, where did it really come from, was it ever used? And I don't know if it's intentional, man. I think it's just a complete lack of understanding in a general way of what happens. Like you said, I mean, I don't know of any country that wouldn't have this capability.
I think a lot do. The way the intelligence community tends to work when they release things is they're going to release 10 things. Each one on their own is not really all that true until you piece all 10 of them together.
Right.
And the trick is to figure out which portion of each of those 10 things that were released makes up the true story.
Right.
It doesn't mean it's going to be over 10 days or 10 years or whatever, but there's an aspect to that exists because there is equal amount in each release valid and misinformation that goes on. And I think all of these, I mean, I believe that almost every major country out there has these same capabilities and similar tools. I mean, information is free. It's very easy to figure out how to get all of these things.
Yeah.
We don't own the intellectual property to only be the only country in the world that can do exploits.
Right.
Come on.
Right. I mean, definitely, I think you and I can agree, because it's reasonable, that at least within the first world, every major first world nation has cyber capability. And I would go a step further and say they've all exercised it to some, at least non-trivial degree, against each other, let alone everybody else.
I would go so far as to say almost, I would say more than half of the countries in the world have this capability and have done it. Easily more than half.
Yeah.
I don't think it's just a first world thing. You don't have to. I mean, think about how often we come across, North Korea, they're certainly not first world and they've got capabilities. Ukraine is not first world. They have capabilities. You could go down the list. All you need to have is some people that can go on past accomplishments and take it to the next step. Well, let's get 5 or 6 motivated people in a room. We'll fucking figure it out.
What's interesting to me, man, is the relationship is inverse. I don't think it's a matter of listing countries that have sufficient, let's say, economic footprint to build these things. It's the opposite. It's who's their targets, and do they have sufficient infrastructure to attack? Because the tools are cheap and they're easily replicated, like you said, I think very appropriately, from past events. It's really who's your target. Now, another thing I find interesting is while nobody stands up and self-attributes, I see a lot of chest thumping in the community for people claiming that they know who did it. And I always kind of stand back and think, well, how do you know? I mean, you're making a best case judgment based on the evidence presented to you, but you have no way, like you were saying, to know which set of evidence you're actually analyzing. Is it the real evidence? Is it the real story?
This comes back to what we talked about in the last episode. This is the Hollywoodization of cyber. I know you don't. Anyone out there can put an opinion out there, and to people looking at it, they don't know which one of you is correct. They don't because they don't have the understanding to be able to take a look and determine which one of you is the idiot. Anyone out there can put something out there and go, no, that's wrong. I mean, think about it right now. You're just getting into some type of technology. You know, Bruce Schneider. Bruce out there, and you go, oh, that's fucking horrible. Well, this other person has no idea because Bruce doesn't go around talking about his crypto. You know, so you have no idea whether or not to be able to judge it or not because none of his crypto has his name on it, like Diffie Hellman.
Right.
You know, you have no idea because his stuff doesn't say Schneider 105 or whatever. So you have no idea. And other people just go, they have no way of assessing the value of others' attribution.
Right. Well, and and we've talked about it before, and I know I talked about it at a good length when we were talking about DefCon and that culture. Right now, information has this odd overvaluation as a currency in social contexts. So the incentive is for me, whether I know anything about it or not, to take the information I can get the fastest that isn't normally the most correct or the most accurate so that I can turn that currency around within my social network and use it to elevate my own status. And we see that in the media. That's, in my opinion, why the media is so shit now. Because they have to play the same game. Because they have a direct economic incentive.
The U.S. swim team getting robbed at gunpoint?
Dude, that story is so funny to watch. I saw some shit yesterday now that people were reporting that, in fact, the Brazilian police have overstated some stuff. Well,
yeah.
Was it the police?
So now they want Ryan. I don't know however you say his last name, Lochte or Loch or whatever. They want him to come back to Brazil. And I put this out on Twitter. If I'm you, no way do I ever go back to Brazil.
No.
Ever.
No.
And I thought for some reason the Olympic athletes were treated as ambassadors.
I thought they had immunity.
So I'm kind of curious about that. I could be completely wrong, but for some reason I thought that they were treated that way.
I'm with you. I thought they had some kind of temporary special immunity.
Yeah. So, but even still, all right, you had some shenanigans. You did whatever. I wouldn't go back. Well, Brazil. Are you kidding me?
And let's just be honest. Who the fuck wants to go back? I mean,
I've been to Brazil. I have no desire to ever go back to Brazil.
Nope.
No desire.
Not in this decade.
I can't think of a decade that I want to go. What I would want to go there to. But this is the thing. The reason why Brazil got so upset because they're like, well, this is the stereotype about us. I've been there. I've seen people get robbed like that. This is yes. It was a very plausible original. When the story came out, you were robbed at you were robbed at gunpoint. I want your cash.
Mm-hmm.
It's plausible.
Yeah.
I mean, foolish on his part to make the story up. I don't. That's kind of silly. I mean, there was no reason for them to. That's the other part. It's like you gave up information that had no bearing one way or the other on anything you had going on.
Well, and it's an interesting tie-in back to the NSA thing and propaganda and disinformation to begin with. I'm always more interested in who's not talking. Like you made the analogy to Bruce Schneier. We both know John Callis. He's the same way, right? Where, you know, one-on-one or in a small group, the guy's phenomenal to talk to, but you don't see him really publicizing what he does. And I think, honestly, knowing John, I don't know Bruce at all, and I really don't want to, but knowing John, it's because he's too focused on getting shit done, in my opinion. But so I'm always interested in these conversations, like with the NSA bullshit and Shadow Lab, Shadow Broker. Who the fuck is Shadow Lab's a dungeon in Warcraft? Fuck them. I don't know. Whoever. It's not who's talking. It's who's not talking. Who's not talking about this? And to me, that's who really knows something.
Yep. There's no reason to. I mean, it comes down to this, right? So one of the people that is interviewing for a job calls me, you know, for whatever reason, Dr. Ford and these things. And the people at work, they're like, who? Because they're like, I don't have people call me that. I don't need people to call me that. I did the work. I already know I accomplished it. You telling me over and over again that I accomplished it does not do anything for me. I already accomplished it. So I don't need anyone to call me doctor.
Right.
So that it's kind of like in these scenarios that the people who did do the work, they know that they did it. They don't need anyone to recognize them for it. They did what they did for whatever reason.
Well, and the one of the last tie-ins I'll kind of make, I think we have a little bit of time. Let me check. Yeah, we got like a couple minutes. I don't know if you were part of the conversations at DefCon, because I don't remember where we were in that center lounge when I remember these conversations happening, but I don't remember if you were sitting there. You might have been off doing something else socially. But there was a lot of banter around the top echelon of NSA teams being there when they hadn't come before. And a lot of people in our social circle were talking about, because they know some of those people personally, that they were there and all the top people, you know, all of a sudden were paying attention to all this stuff. And it's not too much longer now where all of a sudden there's these stories breaking of, you know, that top team got compromised. And sometimes I wonder if some of this isn't manufactured as just social posturing. It's not that any of it's really real. I mean, the people are real in some case, but the information itself isn't. It's manufactured, much like we were talking about offense and harm being manufactured to create fame, like your Hollywood effect, right? And kind of the same way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, I don't know if there's anyone. There may have been people there from NSA, people that I've associated with there. They don't come to these kind of events. They don't care. It's a joke to them, and I understand why they think that way.
Yeah,
they're not. They're off doing things on both sides, creating countermeasures in order to detect types of attacks on things to protect the country, and they're doing things to create weapons.
Yeah.
Neither of those get done at DefCon.
No, right. I mean, it's like we've said before. If time is a currency, how do you spend it in a way that's productive for you and your mission, whatever that mission happens to be and what you believe?
Yeah, and so there may have been some people there from like red teams at the fort and different government agencies. Let's be very clear. Red teamers are not the ones creating these tools.
No, it's a separate group.
There may be some people in the red team that they're capable of doing, but
that's not their mission. I mean, it's not their function.
Their mission is to use the tools and to go exploit.
Right. I don't know, man. So I'm kind of, I'm not following the story because I'm interested in the technology. I'm following the story, and I find myself more and more interested in this part of it, in the sociological parts of it, like how we're evolving as a society and a species to deal with these things, and how the information is being brokered. That's particularly what I'm interested in. How that information around the attribution, not the attribution itself, is being brokered between media, between social groups and shit like that.
We should put out some fake shit and see how long it takes for it to get on the homepage of CNN.
We'll talk offline. the concept of a tracer, what I call a tracer, like a tracer round, so you can see where it goes. Yeah.
I would love to just play that social experiment and be like, bah!
Well, because there is some stuff that's been done in completely different research verticals to ours around memes and using tracer memes to follow the dispersion of information across social groups, but within a specific subculture, yeah, that might be an interesting paper. Maybe you'll finally fucking publish.
Maybe. I got to be motivated to do something, and I just haven't been too motivated as of late. I'm starting to get there, I think. Trying to find what I want to. I'm trying to distance myself completely from mobile.
Yeah, I have too. I've just walked away from it, and I'm kind of getting that way with IoT too. And part of it too is there's just too much fucking snake oil, man. It's not productive. I don't want to argue with people when they're arguing from a position of fucking ignorance.
Yep. With the university that we do stuff with, I have no desire of anyone coming up to anything with me mobile related. I have no desire with anything IoT related.
Yep.
Implantable medical devices. Nope. Unless they want to do a true experiment, because I don't believe they're going to kill anyone. Then I'd be interested in watching, but not participating or my name on it. I'm just not interested. I want to see something interesting, and I don't know yet what I want my next series of research to be. Perhaps it'll be about the type of employment that I'm in right now.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, eventually, one day, figure it out. Right now, I've got no issue. I'm just kind of trying to figure out what it is going to be next. Don't know yet.
Tracer munitions. Cyber tracer munitions, man. Let's do it.
That might be it.
Let's fucking do it, man. We could get it done in...
How to get small planets employed.
Jesus Christ, man.
Or a small planet.
Yeah. I mean, there's only one.
Okay.
Well, at least, I don't know, man. We're out of time, or otherwise I'd start talking about Alpha Centauri, but...
Well, I'm referring to a particular individual.
My wife, I just finished with this, man. Mrs. Pittman came to me the other day, and she's a big... her social network's confined to Facebook, and she does really well with that. How she keeps in touch with family. And she's like, "Hey, I just got this breaking news that we found another planet. It's really close." I'm like, "I fucking been there, baby." Let me describe it to you.
Yeah.
Anyway, man. All right, I think that's a wrap for episode 26, my friends. We covered UFC 202, sports science, and fighting. We'll see what's next for McGregor and Diaz. I'd wager that McGregor fights at least twice before Diaz does once. Not counting any suspension he may incur from the CBD vaping.
And for the record, I am not interested in seeing a trilogy anytime in the near future.
No, not at all, man. Not at all. I'm not interested in that at all. I want to see some more people get wrecked. And we talked about disinformation, NSA tools, shadow brokers, shadow labs, shadow motherfuckers. I don't know what they call themselves. It's beyond ridiculous, the mysteriousness of it, man.
They're in the shadow.
Aren't we all? All right. I'm out of here. Later, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Episode 26. Later, people.
Bye.